So I've been listening to some of those Viktor Frankl's interviews and been reading some of that book again about the meaning, man's search for meaning. And I can't believe all this bullshit that I'm hearing. And I can't believe how people adore this kind of bullshit. Oh, I can't believe that. Right? I know why people do it, but I mean, it's just still it's so irritating and it's so um, saddening that people keep justifying all the horrors that keep happening in our lives on a daily basis and blaming the victims, blaming the people for not being able to stoically accept it and, as Frankl put it, be worthy of their suffering. This is yeah, this is betraying your own and and glorifying this mindless machine that's life, this existence that doesn't care about any one of us. And but we have this need to believe in a just world. You may look it up. This phenomena is actually called just world hypothesis or theory or delusion, and it has been studied and proven that people have this irrational need to believe that the world they are living in is actually just, that bad things only happen to bad people and good things happen to good people. So whenever we see a person suffering, we first try to deny that the suffering is taking place, and we're trying to minimize and say, oh, it's not that bad, or that person's gonna get help very soon, so it's gonna be over, and it's gonna be over. No need to take that into account. And when the suffering persists and we are not able to do anything about it, then the next reaction, we want to find something about that person to be able to say, well, they brought it on themselves. There was something that in them that they deserved it. So uh, the outcome of such thinking is that we are able to preserve this image of life as, just friendly world. It's not that threatening, right? Because if we acknowledge that bad things happen every day to good people in this world, and most of us, if not all of us, think of ourselves as good people, then it implies that I am constantly in danger in this world because look, bad things happen to good people just like me every day, and nothing actually is keeping me safe here. So we want to avoid that, and we believe in a just world because of this reason. Another reason I believe is, I don't know whether it's a reason or it's a very convenient consequence of that, at least, because psychologists mostly theorize that this belief in a just world is mainly the consequence of our bringing up. Parents are always emphasizing that if you be a good boy or girl, you will get this, and if you behave badly, Santa's not gonna bring you presents. So we are brought up in this concept of justice, and we as long as we behave good, we expect good positive consequences. That's where it's believed there's this yeah, delusion is rooted in, where it's originating from. But also is, of course, our religious teachings that say that there's God up there, and there's a higher justice in life, and God punishes, takes interest in our lives, and punishes people, sends all sorts of not only punishments but the rewards. So this is kind of the religious thinking that you assume that there's a meaning and there is a just God, and therefore, yeah, that this just world delusion is very much supported by our religions. Um, yeah, but the side effect, or very convenient side effect of maintaining such delusion is that we don't need to sympathize as much. People who strongly believe in a just world, when they see some destitutes, they do not feel like, oh, that's a person, just like me, who just probably fed some very hard times in their life, and they weren't able to take um, um, all the obstacles and all the trials that hardships that life has prepared for them. So they are now in such dire conditions, and poor guy is suffering, and then your heart is aching because you feel like that's somebody just like you. But when you're a strong believer in that just world hypothesis, you think, well, that person clearly must have done something wrong, right? Well, one good example of that, it was me talking to the guy I met few months ago, and we were just discussing life and stuff, and we were passing by, and there was just a woman on the street begging. And well, we started talking and said, this is very sad to be looking at these people, and they always, um, my mood is going down a bit every time I see that. And he says, well, you know what, if that woman is sitting there right now begging for money, she must have been a bad mother, because if she had been a good mother, your children would have taken care of her. Those are just all bad parents. They deserve whatever's coming to them. They should have been smarter and kinder. Uh, there's a brilliant manifestation of this just world theory. You just make a villain out of the person you know nothing about, and then you don't have to bother with that. You don't have to. It doesn't have to ruin you even a bit of your day, because you don't have to sympathize. You don't have to be sad. You live in a world where good things happen to good people, and bad things happen to very bad people. So everything's fine. You can only concentrate on your achievements, your pleasures, your day-to-day experience, and you just gonna be living a peachy good life. That's so in a way it's a very good tool against the sympathy. And we don't like to be bothered with too many people's problems, right? Can't blame us, because life is full of troubles on its own. I mean, we have our own problems, we have loved ones who have their own problems, who we need to share and sympathize and empathize with. So nobody wants, to be empathetic towards the whole world. I mean, you cannot just survive like that all the time. You will make yourself miserable by doing that. So we protect ourselves in a way. So I don't know whether it's the consequence or the one of the causes why people stick to this just world delusion is that it helps them to preserve their emotional peace, and to be less bothered by the troubles of hardships of other people. So this, however, the result of this just world delusion is, obviously less sympathy and more justifications, at least to justifications of the misery, of the hardships, of the all the atrocities that are taking place. And of course, in the long run, it doesn't make our world better. Make people more cruel, and yeah, nobody likes that world in the end. But yeah, we have what we have. And the, some well, what to say, how to say, in a way, what Frankl is talking about is the same blaming the victim. Because he's saying that we possess this last freedom that cannot be taken from us. It's a freedom to form our own attitudes towards everything that befalls us. So he says that this is where everybody's more or less equally free, and every person, no matter what happened to them, what shit happened in their life, can always choose to feel good about it, to find something great in their suffering, to to feel like martyrs, to find the meaning. But as I understand, it's not actually finding a meaning; it's manufacturing a meaning, because finding is something different. Like, oh, I found a meaning. No, it's creating a meaning for yourself, which is okay for when it can be applied to some people. You can really help them believe in some meaning that isn't there, and it will get them through the hard times. It's all right, but then it's not applicable to everybody. You cannot. There are some people who will not just easily buy into every fairy tale that you have to sell. And the important thing is we cannot blame those people for genuinely feeling desperate, for feeling the despair and the depression at some points in life, because to say that neither of the conditions of life should be viewed as genuinely logically leading to depression, despair, is so disingenuous. It's just to say that none of the conditions of life, none of the circumstances genuinely can lead to happiness. But we don't say that, right? We say, oh, there's so much about life that can make you happy objectively, right? At least there's something, for everybody. It get so much things, so many things in life that are these happiness generators. But whenever we look at the suffering, for some reason, it's not the case. It's not something that's happening objectively that's causing that. It's your own evil will to be in pain and in agony. That's what causing the suffering. It's you bringing it on yourself. It's the same just world hypothesis we're dealing with here. Blaming the victim. Oh, you don't want to believe in that meaning, you bastard. So you suffer. You get whatever's coming to you. We cannot help you. You are not buying into our bullshit, so you suffer. This is your own fault. We've been trying to help you. We've been trying to make you believe in this. We've been trying to make you believe in that. We've been trying to make you discover or manufacture the meaning for yourself. You refuse to do that, you bastard. Now you suffer. The world is just, is something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong that you've lost all your loved ones, your dog that you had for 20 years, that you are riddled with the debilitating disease, that you can soon will be no longer able to walk, no longer able to write, no longer do any of the activities that you like anymore, that you felt life was making life meaningful. No, that doesn't matter. All of that shit. It's all your fault that you're unable to see the meaning behind behind this train of suffering that's been coming your way. Because you have to accept, you have to believe that life has meaning. You have to believe that there's some purpose in it, or else we're gonna ostracize you. We're gonna say that you brought it on yourself, that it's your will to suffer, right? You're making your own life miserable. Yeah, this is of course the opposite of humanism, as humanism would be concentrated on on the human being and saying yes, objectively, you are in deep shit, and we're very sorry, but this shit happens in life, and what can we do to help you get through it? Maybe without the bullshit stories about how what you see is not really what you see, and how it all makes sense in some world that nobody has seen or able to prove. But you just need to believe in that. For some people it works fine. Get them that pill, that sweet pill of believe what you don't see, and you cannot see, you'll be fine. But for substantial amount of people, doesn't work, and they have a right to say, you know what, I can't buy into this bullshit. I'm sorry, but you're just, this is just you saying that life has meaning. There's no proof of that. And actually, if you look at world without the blinders and rose-colored glasses, you will see that in fact there are a lot more pointers to the fact that it's very unlikely to have some sort of rational meaning or purpose behind this whole life game. Because Frankl was a religious man after all, and one of his phrases is, the crowning experience of all for the homecoming man is the wonderful feeling that, after all he has suffered, There is nothing he need fear anymore except his God. And you can watch his interviews, and he talks about God, and that meaning is important, but it's probably not psychiatrists and psychologists who need to be taking this task upon themselves to um, help people manufacture meaning, find the meaning. That's what discover the meaning. That's what he was saying. But theologians, it's the theologian's job. So he endorses this belief in God, belief in yeah, all this religious bullshit anyway. Uh, but I sort of can understand why he arrived at the conclusions that he arrived because of the experience that he had, and that's what got him through the horrors that he experienced in the concentration camp. It's of course not. Cannot blame the guy for it. Cannot blame the other people who were trying the same tactic to delude themselves into seeing the meaning where it actually isn't. To just survive, to help themselves cope with the horrific reality that they could not escape. So what Frankl is saying, he says about the person who has lost hope and is desperate, um, saying the typical reply with which such a man rejected all encouraging arguments was, I have nothing to expect from life anymore. What sort of answer can one give to that? What was really needed was a fundamental change in our attitude toward life. We had to learn ourselves, and furthermore, we had to teach the despairing man that it did not really matter what we expected from life, but rather what life expected from us. We needed to stop asking about the meaning of life and instead to think of ourselves as those who were being questioned by life, daily and hourly. Our answer must consist not in talk and meditation, but in right action and in right conduct. Life ultimately means taking the responsibility to find the right answer to its problems and to fulfill the tasks which it constantly sets for each individual. So you see, the human is far from being center of attention of existence or anything. Uh, Frankl is just trying to basically justify why bad things happen to people in this life by saying that, you know what, you don't have a right to expect anything from life. You need to treat yourself as a slave. And once you accept your role here as a slave, as someone who is being questioned, as someone who does not have a right to question life, then you're gonna be fine. Accept your role as a victim, relax, and it's going to hurt less. If you resist, if you rebel against this system, well, you brought it on yourself. You're gonna be desperate because you're not gonna be able to fight life. Life is gonna still be sending shit your way, and it's going to hurt more. So this is probably good practical advice for people who are already in deep shit, in troubles, in harm's way. And it's a good practical advice for them to try and cope with it. This is the message that you should accept your role as a slave, but put very poetically, wrapped in better sounding words. But the essence is still, you cannot ask anything from life. You're a tool in this life's game. Life's gonna be asking you questions, and your role is to accept whatever's coming to you, and try to be worthy of your suffering. Try and believe in the meaning. That's what your role is here. So this is basically the message wrapped in a nice sounding poetry. And also later he says in the other place, what if oh, sorry, what is demanded of man is not, as some existential philosophers teach, to endure the meaninglessness of life, but rather to bear his incapacity to grasp its unconditional meaningfulness in rational terms. So, again, this religious statement that God has a plan, this plan is great, you're just too stupid to understand it. But you gotta believe that God has a plan. So, same religious take on it, there exists an unconditional meaningfulness to life, but our ratio is unable to grasp it for some reason. We need to believe that the meaning is there, but we're just unable to see it, rather than accept that there's no meaning and just deal with the fact accordingly. Um, but it's just arising so many questions with regards to this blind belief in something that's unproven, that we cannot see, we cannot test if it's true or not. You just will yourself to believe in it. Well, what's the point of living a life where you have to, will yourself into believe in something that you will never find an answer to? Not an objective answer, not an answer that you can confirm with other people. For example, you can confirm with other people that trees are green, right? You will not be able to confirm that the meaning that you found is the true meaning. In a way, you have to be happy with what you've got. It's sort of like be happy with the illusions you have. If you're schizophrenic and you're seeing things and nobody else sees those things, you still have to perceive those. You're seeing those things as some kind of message from God and not your own imagination. So how do you test that of intuition? What he likes to talk about intuition. Uh, how do you distinguish between a genuine intuition and wishful thinking? And if you can never really test and prove if something you believe in is actually true, what's the point of living such a life? This is a person's whole life. It's not like you've been doing some crosswords and then you could not guess some letters, so some words remain unguessed, and well, that's pretty painful actually too. And usually in the back of the magazine you have the answers for those who weren't able to crack the all the crosswords. But this is more important. This is life, and your answer is you will never find out whether your intuition is right or is just a product of your imagination. But you have to be okay with that. You have to delude yourself into thinking that you found an answer and not just manufactured it. And I found it so frustrating. It's so um, it's disgusting. I mean, it's below human dignity or something to be just this self-fooling organism lying running around just telling themselves stories so they can pull through another day. And okay, I'm fine with that. Let's just pull through another day. But the consequence um, of this willful delusion is that we keep perpetuating it. We keep justifying having more and more children who will have the same problems as us. We have no answers for them about why they're here, what they're gonna do here, and what's the purpose of all that. We keep, handing our misery on and on and on because we believe in those delusions. And it's a cruel thing to do. So what is from one point of view a solution to some individual's problems, giving him a false meaning, helping him to find that false meaning in life, manufacture it on the grand scale as a society, is actually contributing to perpetuation of the suffering, because we keep recreating the suffering, recreating the people who will suffer in life, and then we try to sell them the same bullshit that you have to believe what we tell you to believe in. Otherwise, you're on your own. You brought it on yourself. It's your own problem that you're suffering. We had nothing to do with that. We brought you in a beautiful, just world. You don't want to believe in that. That just makes you a bad person. So you suffer. That's what you deserve. This is this is a very cruel and it's very unjust. So getting back to that unconditional meaningfulness that people are not able to grasp rationally. I'm just asking myself the following questions then what's the point in living a life where one isn't allowed to even ask about its meaning? Uh, Frankl acknowledges that it's very important for a person to find the meaning and purpose behind the suffering, and meaning in life. It's to a great extent because of the suffering, by the way, that we search for that meaning. Uh, he recognizes this need. This is like the central of his philosophy, that this is like man needs this meaning to survive. And then in the other sentence, he says we need to stop asking about the meaning of life because we will not be able to rationally grasp it ever. So the solution for the meaning thirsty man is to believe that the meaning exists, is never to find that meaning and be sure that people at some point in their lives all find a meaning and it's all in the same more or less because we just see it as objective reality someday at some point in our life, and we all know that this is the true meaning. Everybody knows the meaning of life. No, we have to accept our inability to grasp the meaning. Us, those who for whom it's very important. We have to be happy with the decision to believe in the meaning. So what's the point for rational beings to exist in a world which unconditional meaningfulness they are incapable of grasping? We are getting back to that point. What's the point of rational being to exist in a world uh, where its meaning is ungraspable? Wouldn't it be more rational for rational beings who are thirsty for meaning to exist in a world which would suit their rational capacity? You know, then it would make sense. But the equation where people are thrust into the world, which is too freaking wise for them to ever understand, and they die without ever knowing the meaning of that life, it's just it's so stupid. And to find a meaning in this weird design is, yeah, it's a yeah, very dishonest thing to do. What's the point in even having intelligence if one cannot use it for the most fundamental questions of existence? Why were Frankl believes in God, right? Why does he think God even gave us the intelligence if we are not allowed to use it to discover the one of the most important questions in life, to the meaning? They give you intelligence, then you're not allowed to use it because it will bring you into harm's way. This is kind of stupid design, isn't it? It's stupid. And the other point, why does one have to accept anything? Frankl is very big on talking about accepting the suffering and sort of like accepting it with dignity, like it makes you a more moral person or it makes you a martyr. Uh, Once you accept that you are just like you are questioned by life, life sends you stuff, and you have to find your way to survive, then you're gonna be fine, right? But why do we say to people they have to accept anything? What authority do we have? I understand it is probably practical advice that if you accept your role as a victim, it will hurt less. but it's not a justification for creating new victims. It's only a practical advice to those who are already victimized. Okay, forgive, forgive your abusers, accept that this shit has happened to you, believe that there was a hidden meaning behind it, you'll be fine. But use that as a justification for saying, you see, life is always wonderful because even the victims in concentration camp were able to find meaning and pull themselves through those horrors. So we can continue creating more people. Some of them will be sent to concentration camps or something like that, and it all makes sense in a way. And if they, again, if they refuse to see sense in it, so tough luck, is their own fault. uh, why should we um, blame the rebels who just saying fuck this game? I don't have to accept anything. Who says I have to accept anything? Who says they have the right to my life and right to say to me that I have to take some shit and just take it and say yeah, thank you. I will try to survive. Give me more. And why do we um, glorify the, I would call them the adapteers, those who adapt to anything and those who say, yeah, I will accept anything, I will agree with anything, I will stop asking questions about the meaning, I will believe anything you advise me to believe in because I just wanna have less suffering. I just want to survive, and please just I'll do anything. Why do we glorify that? That's um, there's nothing moral about that. Stoically taking up shit, it's like yeah, okay, I'll not go too deep in that direction again. I'm just saying it's unfair to tell people they have to accept suffering. They don't have to. Is it written somewhere in the stone that you have to accept? No, it's just people saying to other people that they think that it was God's plan, and therefore we're here, we have to accept it. Even if there was a God and it was God's plan that we have to accept the suffering, because God couldn't come up with anything more brilliant than to teach his creatures with suffering and pain, fine, even if that was the plan, people still have, as long as they have the capacity and the rational capacity to say no, they can say no. I disagree with this God's plan. I'm a creation, but I couldn't give a fuck about that. I'm a living being, I'm a sentient being. I can feel pain. It's me feeling this pain, and it's for me to decide whether I want to accept it and say thank you, I will pull through, or whether I want to rebel and say no. I do not appreciate being treated in that way. I do not appreciate being treated as a slave or someone who has to accept something and take something all the time for somebody else's or something else's plan, higher plan, or whatever that I cannot grasp. I freaking hate it. Either tell me all the plan, give me a choice whether I want to be a part of it or not, and then I say thank you for the choice, and and then I will be responsible for my choice. But when I'm thrust into this life and I'm not given a choice whether I want to be questioned by it, whether I want to endure suffering and become a better person by means of experiencing some shit in life, and then I'm the one being blamed for me rebelling against this whole deal, is that they just say you're gonna accept it, you're gonna swallow it. You swallow it. You swallow it. You take more shit and swallow it and say thank you. But not everybody wants to live like that. Some people still question the meaning, okay? And for some people, truth is more important than comfort. And this philosophy is actually just trying to give comfort to those who are in atrocious circumstances. And I understand that, again, Viktor Frankl and people like him had their own reasons to come up with this philosophy. Um, that's sort of more or less predetermined. That's a defense mechanism, but postulating it as a panacea, against all the suffering and saying, therefore, none of us parents ever have to feel guilty for bringing a child into this world where a child ended up really badly, uh, because in all circumstances you're able to find joy, as testified by Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor. So no, none of us has to be responsible for our actions anymore. It's all God's plan, and everyone can is able to feel good whenever they choose to feel good. So yeah, we're absolved of responsibility. It's just crazy. And I mean, do people who support Frankel's view of life always has meaning ever think about the uh, animal life or little children that have to suffer here? Because Frankl puts it all very logically, for adult human being more or less capable of finding that freedom within himself to decide whether he wants to fall into despair, or he wants to continue fighting for survival, which is a temporary survival in any case, right? Because you're gonna die in a way, you better remember about it. So um, it's not always such a logical choice to always fight for survival for the sake of survival. It might just be that you will fight for survival and you'll die couple years later in a concentration camp than if you would just cut your losses and die a couple years earlier. That just a side note. I got sidetracked a little bit. But did Frankel and his supporters consider the children who suffer in this world? They don't have this capacity to, you know, to to even be thinking about, oh, life must have meaning and my suffering must have meaning and purpose, when they're freaking 5 year old and they're dying of malaria, malnutrition, AIDS slowly, and that just happens every day. Life questioning them, you don't in our world you don't have the right to question a minor, but in life, with its brutal absence of laws, actually, a minor can be just torn apart by the wild beast, or a small kid can be used by Dr. Mengele in those one of those concentration camps for his medical experiments. And that should be okay too. That should be a testimony to the life's meaning and purpose. It's like Bertrand Russell once said that no one can sit at the bedside of a dying child and still believe in God. So people who still do believe in God are very good at blocking out uh, how much of agony and suffering actually takes place every day, and how much of it actually affects children children who do not have yet that life experience, do not have that wisdom to take stoically those suffering. They're just experiencing it and dying in the end. And to say that, oh, yes, that surely tells you something. That tells you that there must be a meaning behind all this life. It is ludicrous. It's the opposite of that. It's a testimony to the absence of the wise creator or designer, or um, a purpose in all this. Just gratuitous exploitation and suffering. And then animals, completely unable to to grasp the meaning of life and feel themselves as martyrs, but they do feel suffering in their own way. And animals are being used every day by us, not only for food, but for all sorts of medical experiments that we conduct in order to develop a new cream so that a new celebrity can put it on her face and make lots and lots of money on advertisement that can be sold to you guys, so you can get less wrinkles on your pretty faces and stuff. and it's happening every freaking day, and you're gonna say that it all has purpose, that it's the best of all worlds, that the best of the designs life could have. And even without us, animals eating each other, what a great design, it must all have purpose. I'm a believer now, because it's just no way that the design in which one animal is only able to survive by hunting down and eating another, sometimes alive. No way this grand design could have appeared on its own without an intelligence creator. Must have been a creator who designed such a such an empathetic, such a full of love and and happiness and bliss world, right? Yeah, that just tells you something. So, gee, I've been talking for a long time this time. Yeah. So, what's the conclusion in this? The conclusion is I'm tired of bullshit. I'm tired of hearing from people that they have a right to perpetuate this horror because they believe in something. You believe in something all you want, but your child is not obliged to support your belief system. Your child may be obliged to believe that 2 plus 2 equals 4 because it's been proven by science. That's a freaking fact. But what you believe in is not a fact, and you cannot oblige another person to believe in something that isn't that hasn't been demonstrated as true. It was a wonderful interview with Bertrand Russell. It's on YouTube. Where is it? I lost it. Yes, an interview about the God, and there was a wonderful question about the truth. Precisely that, about the fact that we like to believe in things that are comforting and sounding great, as opposed to believing in something that makes us feel bad. Nobody likes to be a pessimist, more or less. We have that optimism bias to look it up on Google. So Bertrand Russell was asked the question, do you think there's a practical reason for having a religious belief for many people? And he said, well, there can't be a practical reason for believing what isn't true. And then he said, either the thing is true or it isn't. If it is true, you should believe it. And if it isn't, you shouldn't. And if you can't find out whether it's true or whether it isn't, you should suspend judgment. But you can't, it seems to me, a fundamental dishonesty and a fundamental treachery to intellectual integrity to hold a belief because you think it's useful and not because you think it's true. So I'm just disgusted with people who say we should cling to the truths that sound good so we can get ourselves through the day and continue living, and we should continue this stupid game, and so we can continue living a lie, basically.